Resilience, focus, discipline, courage. Some of the key ingredients in manifesting your vision into a reality. Join me as we delve into what it takes to make your mark. Hello, and welcome to the Make Your Mark talk show. So today we have a very, very special guest. Her name is Miss Penny Cromwell. Penny, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So Penny is very, very dear to my heart in so many ways, because I remember the first day I met you. It was my first time going out, showcasing my apparel line. And I remember you came up to me. I told you about my mission, what I wanted to do. And you looked at me and you said, you know what? I love what you're doing. Keep doing it. Right. Yeah. And you purchased, you blessed me with your purchase. And then you also said to me, you know what, I'm going to buy one and I'm going to ask you to donate it to a young girl.
Yes.
And for me, that was really, really special, just because it was just to know that someone was out there that cares, and that, you know, sometimes you just need that person to say you're on the right path. Yep. And that's what you really did for me. So I was so humbled by meeting you at that moment. And especially because it was my first time out, I've never done a pop-up shop before. And you were so sincere. And, you know, when in developing Make Your Mark, and I thought about the first couple of people came to mind right away to showcase here in the city, and you were one of them.
Well, thank
you so much for being on our show. And I'm sure you are going to bless this audience with a lot of knowledge.
I'll try.
I know you will. So Penny comes to us as one of the first female Emcees here in Canada. Yeah. And inducted into the DJ Stylist Canadian Music Awards.
Yeah. DJ Stylist Awards, yeah.
Yeah, of the Hall of Fame as well, which is part of the Kilowatt Sound Crew. See, I got that right?
Kilowatt with a K.
Kilowatt with a K. Kilowatt with a K. Sound Crew. And one of the things I loved about reading a little bit on your bio is you said something, always believe your dream is possible. Yes. And it's something that even every time I speak with you, you remind me of that. So that tells me that you really do believe that. You feel that in every fiber of your being. And, you know, another part that you also said in your bio is you said you make your mark by telling your story. And to me, that's priceless, because we all have a story. We all have a message to tell. Yep. And I believe that's why we're here in existence, is to share that message.
Absolutely.
So Penny, I'm going to ask you, because I know you're going to do a way better job explaining what you've done and how you've made your mark here in Canada. Tell us about yourself. Tell our viewers about yourself.
So, young girl coming to Canada in the 70s, immigrant parents came from Guyana. I was born in England. And my parents always instilled in me that you have to always give back. You have to, lift as you climb and get your education and make your mark. And that came across strongly from my mother, who worked at Revenue Canada, and my father, who was an educator, worked at Petro-Canada for years, worked there, passed away there and everything like that. But it was always do better. You can always do better. To fast forward to being a teenager in high school and doing track and field and always succeeding. So coming up to be like number one, like in the relays and stuff like that or whatever. And to hanging out around with some guys. I went to a little school in Mississauga, Clarkson, and we had some competitive guys in track and field, which was TL Kennedy, which was the other school. And they were DJing. They used to have dances and stuff like that in DJing. And we used to hear about the dances. And so we'd go over to the dances and stuff like that. And I'd see the guys up there emceeing and rapping and scratching the music and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, that looks like kind of fun. I don't mind trying that. So I remember going over to one of the guys' place, and the hip hop came through, the Sugar Hill Gangs. And so we did it on cassette tapes. On the cassette tapes, where we had the reel-to-reel. So our reel-to-reel was a cassette tape. Yeah. So we had two dual sound systems with the cassette, and you kept playing it over and over. And it was WBLK back then, because we didn't have any black radio stations.
Okay.
So they were playing the Sugar Hill Gang, and I just memorized it. And then I was like, oh, let me put a few of my own parts and stuff like that in it. And then we did that, and we just kept playing around. And then one of the guys who's part of the Kilowatt crew has now passed away, Fuller G. So I want to give homage to Fuller G, because he was the one, when he was rapping on the microphone, he passed the mic to me. He's like, Pen, just play around, just try some stuff. And I was doing it. And I was like, oh, wow, that sounds good. But like, thinking in my head, limiting myself, even though I was raised to move forward and to always do whatever I wanted to do. That's how I was encouraged. I limited myself because I was like, you don't see any guys or girls out there rapping. You just see the guys. But he kept pushing me, and he's like, do it, do it. So fast forward, they had a dance, and I went to the dance with them. And that he was up there on the stage rapping, and I was like behind, like total tomboy, behind B-girl. And I was just listening to him, and I was just vibing, and he gave me the mic. And unbeknownst to him, I was writing my own raps. So he gave me the microphone, and back then it was all about basketball. Like, we were in love with the guys that were playing basketball. So I made a rap about basketball. So he gave me the mic because he heard me like doing it silently. And he gave me the microphone, and all of a sudden I was like on stage, like rapping about basketball and about 6 foot guys and all that kind of stuff, whatever. And I was just like, oh, wow, the crowd was getting hyped. And I was like, I like this. I am enjoying this. This is a nice feeling to, okay, I really want to do this. I can do this. And then he was up there emceeing, like, so we were passing the microphone back and forth. He was emceeing, and he saw how the crowd was reacting, so he just stepped back and gave me the mic, and I just was like, okay, there's a shoe. And I just started rapping on point about a shoe or different things. And so then, to kind of fast forward to that, then I started, Caravana, we would have big dances and stuff like that. So we'd go to Caravana, and then I'd get rapping against other crews, like Sunshine Crew, TKO Sound Crew. So those are the crews, the big crews back in the day. And we were a little Mississauga group. So those were the Scarborough and the Lawrence Heights groups and everything like that. So they were like, whoa, wait a minute, what is this? You've got a female MC? Who's she? Why is she on there rapping and making that stuff? So they would, what the guys did is they created different beats for me. And so I always pay homage to them. Carl Cole, Glenn Fuller. I always pay homage to them because what they did is, not only did they give me the power to have the microphone as men, and this is their game, they gave me the power to have the microphone to rap, but they would create musical beats for me to get on and to rap. So fast forward, so we have Caravana, then you have, back in the days, a lot of Americans, like that just starting out, would come up here to test out their music. So I'd find myself, I'd get a phone call from the guys, it's like, Pen, we're gonna go to this club on Lawrence or Dufferin, it's called the Beat or whatever. Go there, oh wow, there's Jazzy Jeff, there's like Fresh Prince, who wasn't Fresh Prince back then. He was just Will Smith, right? So yeah, we'd go there, and then I find myself, they would be rapping and stuff like that, and I would like imitate, and I would like making a whole bunch of noise and stuff like that. Next thing you know, I'm up on the stage, and Jazzy Jeff is scratching, and I'm rapping, and I'm like, wow, this is crazy. To a group called Houdini, they did the song Friends. How many of us have them? Let's be friends. Okay. And so up on the stage, rapping with them, and they're like looking like, what? This girl, Canadian girl? And I'm like rapping, I'm like, yay, West Indies, yay, Toronto, right? Because that was a novelty for them. To fast forward, CKLN, Ron Nelson had a hip hop show, a contest, which is you submit your rap and your rhyme to go against UTFO, Roxanne Shante and UTFO. And so back then, that song was Roxanne, Roxanne, and I Want to Be Your Man and all that kind of stuff. So you had to do a comeback. So I did the rap, and we were just playing around. Did the rap. My cousin wrote the rap for me, and we were just playing around and everything. We submitted it to CKL, and we're like, yeah, okay, whatever. They're gonna pick their Scarborough people, not us little Mississauga people. Then I got a call. You've won. You've been selected to enter the contest. So went to selected the contest, went on the radio, CKLN back then, and just did an interview and everything like that. And it was like, you know, it's great. You're going to go. And we thought it was just going to be like a little dance. Mm-hmm. But it was like, you're actually going to be on a big stage. I think it's called Government. It was called Government, but we called it RPM back then. And you're going to be on a big stage and you're going to be rapping. And there's other people that have entered the contest and you're going to battle against them. So I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. My confidence is like hyping up. I'm like, there's no other girls out there, so I got this.
Yeah.
And at that time, there wasn't any other. The competition were my cousins, and they were the ones that were writing the rap. So it was like, okay, Penn, you go do it. So I get up there and we get there, and the opening of the person that was opening the show was Jermaine Stewart, which is, you have to Google him, probably. But Jermaine Stewart opened it up. And then they were like, okay, there's other people. So we're sitting in a room at the Government, and we're waiting. And then this guy walks in. And I'm like, he looks kind of familiar. Yeah, I know him. I think he looks familiar. It's Maestro. So the contest went on and everything like that. Everyone got eliminated. It came down to me and Wes. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be beat. Like, it's going to be done or whatever. And not only knowing, or I found out years later, he was thinking, what the hell? I got to go against her? There's no way I'm going to win. There's no way. So went up there, did the show. UTFO was there, which was the rap group, which was amazing. They were there. And I came in second to Maestro, and I have to put this disclaimer out there when he says it. Came in second because he had a human beatbox.
Okay.
Right? And that's the only reason why. He had a human, which is a friend of ours too, but he had a human beatbox, and that's how I came in second. But we joke about it like years later. So that was my major introduction into emceeing and rapping and stuff like that.
Wow.
So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Like, talk about a story of defying norms.
Yes.
And a lot of it was courage, is what I hear from you.
Yes.
Is a lot of times you had that self-doubt happening in your mind, but you're like, you know what, Penny, just go do it. Just go do it. The stages are being presented. Just keep doing it. Awesome. Good stuff. So Penny, we're going to take a quick break.
Okay.
And we will be back shortly.
From a tender age, I recognized that I was not the average girl. I was always opinionated, outspoken, and for the most part, unapologetic. I was born to lead, to inflict positive change, to serve. I was born a leader. Harnessing this internal drive led me to spearheading several businesses while unlocking potential within large organizations in director roles throughout the city. While on this quest, I discovered my love for people and passion for personal development. Throughout my career, I have mentored hundreds of individuals, both personally and professionally, channeling my belief of self-care and with an avid love for fitness. Daily, I nurture my mind, body, and soul, embracing the very act of self-love. I truly do believe that you cannot give what you don't have. With a commitment to living on purpose and within my purpose, my personal mantra is to leave better than I met.
Hello, and we are back on the Make Your Mark talk show, and we have the lovely Penny Cromwell in the house today. Penny's full of vibes, and one of the things I love about you is that you are so unapologetic. I love the fact, in between the break, and I'm like, guys, powder me up. Let's take it. We got to be on point. So I just love that you're so comfortable in your own skin. Yeah. And I want to get into kind of finding out what was one of your biggest accomplishments. So we talked about your journey a little bit, and you really did create a platform for upcoming women to feel comfortable taking stages now. But what was one of your biggest accomplishments that you resonates with you every time you think of wow, look at what I've done?
So my biggest accomplishment, I always say, it's a part of my story, it's a part of my history, is my son. So In the DJ group Kilowatt Crew, one of the reasons why I also joined it and got into it is his father was a part of the group. And his father was like one of my best friends and everything like that. And then it transferred into a relationship, and then my son came along. And being in that environment, it was cool, it was fun and everything like that. And he supported me a little bit, but didn't really expect me to get to the point where I'm on stages with Maestro Fresh West. I'm on stage with Dougie Fresh. So got pregnant, had my son, and he was kind of like, well, do you really want to be rapping and doing them stuff? You should be home, taking care of your kid, and taking care of our kid and all that. But meanwhile, he's still going out. So I, again, even though my parents had pushed me and said, you can do anything you want, I suppressed that and stayed home, was looking after my son to save my relationship. Well, the relationship didn't work out, but I still had that son. I still had that child. So I had to make sure, and his father decided not to be a part of his life. And I had to make sure that I raised him to be a man. And in my head, I had my father in my head saying, I don't want to see you in the paper or him in the paper with no jail, no nothing or whatever. So I had the mission of raising a young Black man and making sure that he stayed on the straight and narrow. And he's my biggest accomplishment because he was my goal to keep going and put my story or my passion or my dream on the back burner because I wanted to make sure he did right. Part of it is I left his father, went away to California, took him, he was under 2 years old, took him to California. And that was just in the prime of me becoming the Lady P, like going out on tour with Maestro. So we went to California, and I just happened to call my voicemail, and there was Ron Nelson on, there was Maestro on. They were like, where are you? What's going on? What's happening? We're ready to go on tour. We want you to go on tour. The UTFO concert and battle was just the beginning. What's going on? Hung up the phone and just said, I got to just shut it down and focus on my son. Stayed in California for about 2 years because my focus was my son. Went through all kinds of stuff, doubting myself, questioning myself after building myself up. But that was my way to break away from all the negativity and everything like that with his father. Came back to Canada, and he was just about 3 years old. Make sure he's in school. Make sure he's doing everything right. Make sure he's in different programs. Fast forward, he's playing soccer, he's running track, and then he's a track coach comes by and he's like, you know your son's really good. And I remember you. Didn't you in Mississauga, weren't you like rapping and stuff like that? I'm like, yeah, but it's all about my son. Don't worry about me. My son's doing track, and I'm just encouraging it, and I'm pushing him. In the meantime, I'm unbeknownst to me, he's listening to all the stories about the Lady P. He's listening to all the stories about me rapping and emceeing and stuff like that. But he's like, I've got to make my mother proud. To fast forward where, and I say he's my biggest accomplishment because I remember taking off, working in the corporate world, taking my vacations, taking my sick days and everything to go to his track meets, to go to his soccer games. Next thing I know, we're at Windsor University. He's running track, very, very low key, running track, and sprinting around. And I hear on the speaker, ladies and gentlemen, Cordell Morrison. He's running around the track. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got our first gold medal for midgets. So he broke a Canadian record. So again, I had to suppress my stuff, but I put everything into my son. And he got his first. I was the first female MC. He was the first record holder in the time and stuff like that for track and field. So I always say that he was my motivation, and he's the best thing that I was able to do because, West Indian families too, the parents will be like, oh my gosh, you're not married and what's gonna happen and everything like that or whatever. And I went through a lot with him, but he's my proudest achievement. He's my legacy. So not only am I the first female MC, he's also in the books for Canadian records for track and field. He's got a scholarship, went away to the States. He's back now. But that was, and I did it by myself. Just similar to, even though I had the push from the guys a little bit for emceeing, I did that by myself. I stayed behind and nurtured my son. He's done that. And I'm so proud that he did appear in the newspapers. But it was the centerfold of the Toronto Star and the Sun being up and coming, track and field champion. I was just amazed by that. And that's like my blessing. That's my biggest achievement. And the biggest achievement from that is he said to me one day, Mom, I'm good. You did good. Go on and live your life. Move on, live your life. And that's how I started to get back into, which is my passion, which is I like emceeing. I do a little bit of rapping, but like more so emceeing. So I started to get out there. I started to get myself back out there at a much later age, get myself back out there, hosting events, talking about the Lady P, not shying away from, I'm in the Hall of Fame. I started to own it and acknowledge it and be comfortable in my space and in my skin and say, yeah, this is me. I may not be on the MTVs and all that kind of stuff, but I'm here and you got to hear my story. You got to understand that I've achieved that. So my son was my biggest achievement next to becoming, one of the first female MCs, watching him grow.
Wow. What a story. Oh, I could listen to you all day long. But wow, there's so much message in that story, particularly around the fact that, most people would see it becoming a single mom as something as, oh, why me? I'm another statistic. Yeah. Whereas you took that and you said, you know what? No, I'm going to make sure that my son becomes something. Yeah. I'm going to push him to whatever limit that is. And not one of the stories that you've told me, which you didn't mention on here, is that you didn't use his father as a weapon towards him. And I can truly appreciate that just from the mere fact that I've seen so many situations where parents, specifically mothers, have used their children as weapons against the father, and it only in turn hurts the child. So kudos to you.
Thank you.
For honestly being that mature and being that grounded within yourself. Although you were going through moments of a lot of self-doubt, you didn't take it out on anyone else. You found a way of dealing with it, which we're going to get into as well. Yeah. But moving along, I wanted to, being a female MC, you only talked about guys so far that you were around, and being one of the first female MCs, what did that feel like for you, knowing that every time you showed up in a space, there were just male figures?
Actually, it empowered me. It empowered me and it motivated me to be an example for other women. And even I still do that to today. So being an example for other women, it empowered me because back then, even though I was around a lot of guys, they supported me. A lot of the guys were like, do it, go do it. Some of them were like either intimidated or some of them were like mocking it. But then when I started to like drop some of the lyrics or drop some of the lines or customize certain things towards some of them, they supported it. And what I loved the most is that, let's say we're at a dance and, it's an old school dance, whatever, it's kind of a little bit dark and they have certain lights or whatever. So the guys that I worked with, they would have like lights that would come out and beats and stuff like that. And then I would come out on the stage and people would be dancing and stuff like that. And then they would literally stop and turn around and look and like, what is that? Because I would come out either singing a line or I'd come out and, start rapping and stuff like that. So I got a lot of support from most of the guys that were there. And even to this day, a lot of the guys from back in the day, from the old crews or whatever, they're like, we loved you. We used to listen to you. We're like, what happened? Where did you go? And then when we started to see you now, it's like, it's amazing. Like I was at an event in November. Actually, I hosted Emcee's birthday party. Oh. And there was guys that came. Emcee called me. I was in Ghana. She called me. She's like, Pen, I need you to come and host my birthday party. And so I went and hosted her birthday party, and there were guys like from back in the day that came up, and they were like, oh my gosh, where were you? Like, we heard that you were going to be here. Where were you? What are you doing now? And all that kind of stuff or whatever. And I said, I'm still emceeing, but not in the same token. So it was I would say back then it was empowering. And here's the reason why it was empowering for me is they tried to bring other female MCs back then in those days, even mimicking the name, like saying Lady P, saying that they were Lady P or they were Ebony 3. And those girls came out in lingerie. They came out in tight little bustiers and stuff like that. So one thing that we made sure of, and I'm so proud of like the group that I was with, is we used to, back in the day, we'd get our suits. The guys would get their suits tailor-made. They'd get their pants tailor-made, everything like that. We wanted to come out as a classy group, not taking away from them. Everybody's got their own thing. I'm not judging anyone. But for me, I wanted you to hear my voice. I didn't want you to look at me and be like, oh, yeah, she's cool. She's pretty. She's, female MC. Boy, look at that. I know I've got certain parts of my body that will stand at attention, bring attention to everybody. And I'm very proud of it because it's all mine. But I wanted them to hear my voice. I wanted them to hear what I was going to say. I wanted to get the crowd going because of my voice, not because of what I was wearing. Yeah. And that was, and the guys supported me in that. So I didn't have to, I didn't have to like unwrap anything.
I love that.
Just my voice.
Becoming an entrepreneur, one of the things that was really shocking for me, I wouldn't say shocking. I would say was just a lot of talk around the fact of how females feel so inferior to men. Well, most of my work environments were always with men. It was very, very weird for me to get into a world where I was actually working with more females. I didn't know what that felt like. So what that did for me is it just made me more of a logical thinker. It made me not be, yes, I still have emotions. I'm still a female, but I'm able to put more logic to situations. And at no point did I ever feel less than. I never felt less than. I always felt actually that it was about facts. And our discussions was more around facts. In the businesses that I've been in, it came down to, does this make sense? What have you done? How does it, and it was I never felt the comparison per se, as opposed to obviously there have been times where I've been in boardrooms where racially I felt different, but not necessarily because of gender. But Penny, as I said, we can talk for days. We got such great conversation going on. We will be taking a quick break and then we will be back. And we are back on the Make Your Mark talk show, and we are having a fruitful conversation today with Miss Penny Cromwell, Lady P. Get that right, y'all? Lady P. So, Penny, you have just taken us on such a great journey. I wanted to get into kind of talking about now the trust pieces of things, the resiliency pieces. Tell us about a time when you felt like, this person was no longer serving me. Like I was in a space where, it wasn't for me anymore, and how you dealt with that.
So I'm going to have to go back to, obviously being in the Kilowatt crew and my son's father being a part of the crew. He was the DJ and I was one of the MCs. So it was a conflict of interest because we're out there DJing and I'm MCing and so forth, and he's there and he's the father of my son. But I knew that we had to keep that face going, go out to the dances, go out to the events and stuff like that. Like we were traveling all over. We were in Buffalo, like doing Juneteenth and all that kind of stuff. And knowing within myself that this wasn't working. This wasn't working because I wasn't myself. I was insecure, I wasn't myself. And so, but he's also the father of my child. So you have to make that hard decision, right? And the key thing is when trust is broken with somebody that you love, somebody that you've shared blood with, which was my son. So it was breaking from him and knowing that I couldn't trust what I thought we had. So it was making that decision to just get up and leave and to move on and set my priorities and set my goals and what is it that I want to do. So it was a hard lesson. But again, like I said, I went away. I went away to California. I was fortunate to be able to go to California and stay there and kind of get my head right. So bit of background, I had such low self-esteem when I was with my father, who was my best friend, my son's father, who was my best friend, that I had my son and went to California. I was 300 plus pounds and went there and just kind of had to shed a lot, including the weight. So fortunately, I went over there. My brother's in the Navy. I went there. He was like, okay, we can't do this anymore. Like this, who is this? What are you doing? We can't do this. Literally walking around the base, having my son just kind of learning to walk in California, another country, not able to really make money. So it's like I learned survival. So what are you going to do to make money to take care of your son? And how are you going to shed that person? And a lot of prayer. A lot of prayer and a lot of talking to myself, a lot of letting go of the shame. Because through losing trust of somebody in that type of situation, you have and you carry a lot of shame. And I had to make that hard decision and hard choice to literally leave the country, let go of that shame, and understand and recognize I can't continue doing this if I want to, uplift another human more, So it was a very tough journey. I'm proud to say that I've got through it, came back stronger from the States, and was able to, I say it in this way, but it's not ill intent, but to meet my demon. So my first thing was to come back and meet my son's father and say, you don't have that hold anymore. I don't trust you. I don't want to be around you. I am a good person. I can move forward. I can do better. And I will do better. May not be in what my passion was, which was emceeing and doing all that. I lost all that, actually. Not had to. I lost all that. I lost that opportunity. But I knew within my heart that opportunity would come again, and it did. It did, like, umpteen years later, it did come back. And I was empowered by my belief in myself. Like, I had to find myself. I had to know what was inside of me and to go out there and to make a positive world for my son. Like I said, I met with his father and I said, you don't have that hold anymore. And I came back from California. I'd lost over 100 and blah, blah, blah pounds and stuff like that or whatever. And it wasn't any dieting or anything like that. It was just literally, sometimes when you're going through stuff, literally you shed. And when you start to shed inside and release all of that, the rest will go.
Yes.
The rest will go.
It's so funny that you said that. As a strength and conditioning coach myself, I meet people that come to me and they'll say, you know what, Kim, I want to lose weight. I want to lose this. I want to change this. I want to look this way. And I never attack it from that platform. Yeah. I sit, I meet with them, I talk to them, I understand who they are, what they're going through. Yeah. And some people, I tell them it's not weight that you need to lose, that's physical. Right. And they look at me and their eyes fill up with water. And it's like, no, I know that it doesn't matter what you do with me. You need to deal with what's happening inside with you. Yeah. Your weight is emotional weight.
Absolutely.
It is not physical. It looks physical to the eye, but that ain't got nothing to do with what I'm going to do with you. Because if you're still holding on to whatever you're holding on to, honestly, one, I don't want you to waste your money. Yes, it is definitely good for heart health and so forth, but I want you to deal with that demon, as you said, that's been haunting you, because honestly, you don't need to change anything and deal with that, and everything just starts falling off.
Exactly.
So Penny, I want to take it on to, tell me about a time when you felt like giving up, because I'm sure through your journey, you just felt like, you know what, there were times, you know what, this isn't worth it anymore. Tell us about a time.
So I would say coming back from California and still having that I want to do the rapping. I want to do it. I given up my job. I just packed up everything and just went away, took my son. And I didn't have a job when I came back. I didn't have a job to come to and everything. And coming back and seeing that I was still very, very young when I came back from California with my son, and seeing everybody had moved on, and seeing, and I'm being very honest and transparent, seeing Maestro, like, with the Junos and the platinum records and Let Your Backbone Slide and everything like that. Seeing Mishi, who, when we used to go to parties and dances and stuff like that, she was there, you know, in the audience. I think I saw her perform once, right? And I was in the audience, but she was like in the audience, or she was like with the Sunshine Group and stuff like that. Seeing that they'd all moved on and knowing that, wow, like I've just got to either start from the bottom again if I want to go into it, or I got to move on. I got to just say, okay, that's done and over with. But it was never done and over with in my spirit. It was never done. I always had that yearning. So that was the one time I would say where I felt like I don't even want to, like, I'm just going to go in a little quiet shell. I'm just going to live my life. You know, everybody's going to know that Lady P ran away and she couldn't even, you know, do all that kind of stuff, whatever. All these people are, so I would say ashamed. So I steered away from that kind of environment. Because again, even though I went away to empower myself and lost the weight, shed everything, and you said something that's very key. Even though I'd shed it, I still internally did not release a lot of it. So I had to face that. So literally, like when I would go out, when I came back from California, when I'd go out places and stuff like that, and people would be like, "Hey, Penny, where you been?" And oh, Lady P, and oh, there's a dance. And like I had people coming to me and saying, "We got to get you back in there. We got to." But again, even though I thought I was ready and I'm good, I hadn't released it. So I was like, no, I don't do that anymore. I don't. I literally was like, you know, that's not who I am. So that was the point where I felt like just kind of just giving up and everything like that. But again, I got to go back to my son. It was looking at him and saying, okay, well, you made that hard choice, that hard decision, even though it was against some of the family's wishes. He's here. So you're either going to do it or you're going to do it. Yeah. There's no in between. There's no choices, you know? So it was just to keep going and stuff like that, even though I was at one point like, held my head down and was, you know, ashamed of. People would call me up and they're like, "Oh, come out, we got this dance happening," or whatever. And then who you are is who you are. So even though I tried to shy away from it, I would go to like let's say Newmarket to a party, and there's that one person that's like, "Lady P, come on." And I'm like, okay, well, my name is Lady P. I'm here to, and then all of a sudden it would start coming back out again. They're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I'm like, oh my gosh, I still have it.
Yeah. I think that's something definitely to be talked about. If there is that there's this piece in you that never leaves you, and who you are is literally who you are. You cannot change it. You can't run from it. And look, you went all the way to Newmarket and there's this one person in the crowd. Yeah. And you know, sometimes we're trying to run away from ourselves. And the fact is that, no, we need to sometimes take a step back, believe in who we are, and understand that not everyone's going to accept us for who we are, but this is who we are, and this is how our existence here means something, and not be unapologetic. And I think hearing your story, it makes sense now how you show up today. Yeah. How you show up in the fullest form. Like, I am here. I even said to the crew before you guys will know when Penny comes in. Like, you gonna know she's here. But on that note, we're gonna take a quick break and we will be back. Hello, and we are back with the Make Your Mark Talk Show, and this show is on fire with Lady P, aka Penny Cromwell. So, Penny, you have shared such great insights with us today, and I'm learning a lot just sitting here listening to you. And one of the things for me that I'm hearing from you is that as you went through your journey, you started to learn, and there were things that if you look back now that you potentially may have changed and done a lot sooner. So what would be 2 things that you felt you wish you knew earlier? And then 2 things that you wish that you had the ability, like you wish you would change now. So let's start with 2 things you wish you knew earlier and that you would share with us. Like as a young person right now growing up that you wish you knew earlier that you would leave with our audience.
So I would say one of them would be that always believe in yourself, and the strength that you go in with, it's always going to be in you, right? And don't look to other sources to find it. It's always within you. Whatever it is that motivates you and makes you get up in the morning, stick to that, because that's what came out. That's what came out in me eventually, in the end, doing through my own search and my own journey. That's one of them. And I'd say the second thing is, your journey is your journey. So no matter how you get to where you get to, no matter what you have to do, respect that, understand that, and take a pause and listen to it. Your shame and your embarrassment or your joy and your happiness is all dependent on you. Don't look for other people for validation. Mm-hmm. And that's what I did. And I think that comes from like a West Indian background, whereas like you're always trying to make sure that your parents are proud and happy because they have these visions for you. I remember one time my dad started off with, what are you doing rapping? Like, what is it? Girls don't rap. And my mother used to call me rapper number 2 because the guy was rapper number 1. And she's like, women don't do them. What is that? That kind of stuff. 2, my father coming to one of my dances at a big hall and watching it and being a part of it and coming to me and saying, I'm so proud. I'm so proud of you, like, doing that. But I was looking for that validation. Mm-hmm. 2, my father and my mother kind of being like, oh my gosh, you have a child, your life is this is not what we brought you for and everything. So I was always trying to validate and make them proud. To my son winning his records. And again, I was like, I wish my dad was here because he had passed. I wish my dad was here because he could see, I did make a mistake. I did wrong. And yes, the rapping to getting the award. And again, so my point to that is that your journey is your journey. How you validate it and how it's validated has to depend on you. Don't look for that outside.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And, part of what you talked about, I remember when speaking with you, you said it was really important for you to make sure your son had a good education.
Yeah.
So what's your take on it? Like, this question literally is a question taken from our students where they want to know, is it book smart more important or street smart?
It's a combination of both.
Okay.
It's a combination of both. It has to be. Our parents, my generation, or my generation of parents would say it's all, because they come from the West Indies or like Guyana, South America. They come from there where it's get your books, learn your education and all that kind of stuff. But I can say right now, I don't have a university degree, but I've got the education and I got the degree in life. I got the degree in life by being out there, emceeing, traveling all over, having the opportunity to travel. I got the degree in life and working in the financial services and people actually mentoring me because they kind of were like, I'm interested. Don't know your story, but I'm interested in your story. But here's how I'm going to help you do better, be better, right? To going back to school later on. My son's in school and I'm in school. So it's a combination of both. However, I always say to everybody, however your journey and your story, it's your story. However you get to it, make sure you get to it. Don't pause. Don't stop. You get up every morning, you've got a breath, you wake up and say, thank God I'm alive. Don't stop. Keep going. Always try to be better. Even if it's like 1 minute at a time, 1 second at a time, always try to move forward and be better. So my answer to that, it's a combination of both. It has to be.
Okay.
Especially in this day and age.
Awesome. So briefly, because I know I didn't get a chance to touch on this, but this is a question that comes up all the time. How did you know the difference between collaboration versus doing something for free? Were there ever times where you got approached to be an MC and they're like, well, we can't afford to pay you, but here's what you're going to get out of it? And how did you decide which gigs you were going to take?
That's so easy. So if they came to me, I've been approached to Emcee, and if they came to me and they said to me, I want you to MC this event, I want you to help host this event, but I what's your price? So I'd ask them, what is the event? What's the purpose of it? Very important. What's the event? What's the purpose? Who's the target audience? And what kind of message are we trying to go through? So if it's a dance or a party or whatever, and I know that they're getting money at the door or whatever it is, I will say, okay, well, this is my price. But if it's an event like a fashion show or another party or something like that, where the proceeds are going towards the youth or to the kids or to a hospital or to any kind of structure or an environment that's aligned with who I am, then I'm like, sure, I'm there. You can use my name. I'm going to go in there and I will partner with you, because at the end of the day, we all have it. It doesn't matter if we're in the limelight. We all have a brand, and we have to protect that brand. It's very important to protect that brand.
Awesome. That's so important. And I have this conversation a lot with people that I mentor and work with, and I let them know that, you know what, you are a brand, whether you have a business or not. Your first and your last name is your brand, and you have a responsibility to protect that. And for me, and people would tell me this all the time, you know what, Kim, you're so cocky, because I would only do things that are in line with my values. And it would come off as very standoffish. But for me, it was like, why am I going to sign up for this, even if I'm going to be paid, but it doesn't serve me in any way? And I believe at some point that it must go beyond money, the discussion, because there's such deeper value in aligning yourself with people and things that have a deeper meaning to your core, right? You leave fulfilled at the end of the day, as opposed to, you know, being disgruntled, and it's just not serving your spirit. But as we wrap up, Penny, what are your top 3 things that you'd want to leave with our viewers, how they can make their mark?
Top 3. So number 1 is, and I say this to my son, is if you were to die tomorrow, what would you want people to say about you?
Awesome one.
2, every day that you get up and you wake up, show up. 3, your journey is your story. It's your history.
Yep.
That's it.
Love it. Love it. Penny, it has been a complete pleasure.
Thank you.
Complete
Thank you very much for having
pleasure having you here on the show. And you didn't tell us about one thing, because you're leaving here to go check yourself out at the reference library. So what's happening there?
I'm like so honored and excited. I'm actually leaving from this and going over to the Toronto Reference Library on Yonge. They have a big mural. It's a hip hop mural back in the day. And they've got a big mural with a quote from me, Lady P, right on the front entrance, right in the Toronto Reference Library. So again, that's a part of my story, my history, and my footprint that's now in the Toronto Reference Library.
Awesome. So, what an honor to go over there and see yourself on a wall.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Good for you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for doing all the work that you've done here in Canada.
Thank you.
Thank you for continuing to be a role model, and, keep telling your story, because you have an awesome story. You're amazing at storytelling. And this lovely lady has just blessed us with so much knowledge. Feel free to hit replay if you need to, but thank you for joining us today. And don't forget to follow us online on Instagram, makeyourmark.ca, and follow us online as well, makeyourmark.ca. Actually, Penny, how can our viewers reach you?
I'm on Instagram, so it's Lady P4, and I'm also on Facebook, Penny Cromwell.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. Perfect. Make sure to follow her. She's got some real knowledge. So till we meet again, thank you and have a great day.